Oi, 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 YouTube. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video today, and we have an exciting update. This is the 4.6.0 PTB. Now, this means that this is only on Steam as it is the test build for the game. But today we are looking at the new killer, the Trickster, and the new survivor. Let's go ahead and dive into the new killer and take a look at what they are about. They are, I love aesthetically how they look. They're very Joker oriented, very edgy, but I think I'm gonna kind of dig that a little bit. Let's dive into what their ability actually is. They have the showstopper power, okay? They start the trial with 60 blades. You press and hold the power button to wind up and enter the throw state. While in the throwing state, tap the action button to throw a single blade, or hold down the attack button to unleash a flurry of blades. Throwing a flurry increases control and throw rate while decreasing movement speed, and you restock blades at lockers, all right? So interesting. It's like kunai. It's like a Naruto fantasy land, but I don't know how this looks in practice, all right? There's a laceration meter, so it looks like there is a new status effect. A laceration meter increases each time they're hit by a blade. Once the meter is filled, they will lose a health state, either becoming injured or down. So it's like you stack multiple hits and then they'll lose a health state. So it's going to be kind of interesting. They just get hit multiple times and this little meter builds up, all right? Survivor's laceration meter will gradually decrease if they have not been hit by a blade for a short time. Hitting a survivor with a basic attack will immediately decrease their laceration meter, of course. So it's like, you know, if you stalk somebody and then hit them with Ghostface before you finish the stalk, it'll just kind of drop it. The special ability is the main event. Each blade hit fills the event meter. Once full, main event can be activated by pressing the ability button. In this mode, the Trickster temporarily unleashes his full potential, wielding an unlimited number of blades. His throw rate is significantly increased, and his movement does not slow down while in the throwing state. So it's a lot. And if you guys want to see gameplay, of course, head on over to twitch.tv/DyllonKG. We'll be playing him today. To get a lobby would take me 10-15 minutes, would be delaying the video here. So we're going to just talk about what he is, and then you guys can get hype for it. Let's talk about the perks. We have Starstruck. Starstruck activates when you're carrying a survivor. Survivors within your terror radius suffer from exposed status effect for 20 seconds. So if you don't want to be body blocked at hooks, I guess, then you know, you don't have to worry about this. People within your terror radius will be exposed, which is one hit down for 20 seconds, which people can wiggle off your arm in 16 seconds. So that's kind of crazy, actually. All right, we have Hex Crowd Control, another Hex perk. The entity blocks a window for 10 seconds after a survivor performs a rushed vault through it. So this is actually really interesting. In theory, you could do a lot with this, right? I'm pretty interested. It's like Blood Favor, but for the survivors will control what they do. So if you have crowd control up, you find somebody in LT wall, they vault the window, then they go, oh no, what have I done? So it's a survivor bamboozle. I like the idea of the survivors getting themselves in a bad spot. And then we have No Way Out. You're not going to let anyone into the VIP room. Each time you hook a unique survivor, so that's a survivor you've not hooked before, No Way Out gains a token. When the last generator is repaired, the entity blocks both exit gate switches for 8 seconds for each token in your possession. So this is interesting. If you go through and hook each survivor one time, you get a token. You would get 4 total tokens, which is 8, 6, 12, it's 32 seconds of not being able to open a gate. So it's interesting. You could, in theory, combine this with Blood Warden to make it just so impossible for people to get out. Obviously, you would want to have people dead before this happens, but interesting. I don't hate this perk. I don't think it's going to be like, it'll be fun for end game builds. Now let's take a look. His terror radius is small. The terror radius is 24 meters. This is the same as Deathslinger. So this is going to be our monitor and abuse daddy again. And the height is average and 4.4 meters a second. So interesting. I'm interested in the Trickster. Let's look at the survivor real quick though, and take a look at what they are about. Let's dive in and take a look here, see where they are at on our roster. Right here, Yun-Jin Lee, and I hope I'm saying that right. Her outfit is kind of rad. Like the whole thing's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Does she have a septum piercing? I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is the lighting. I was about to say, is she like me? All right, let's take a look here. Her perks Our fast track, all right, whenever another survivor is hooked, you gain a token. You consume all tokens after a great skill check on a generator. Each token consumed grants 1% bonus progression for great skill checks when repairing generators. Super weird. I don't think that makes any sense. So basically, I mean, you could stock up a bunch, like it just, if you intentionally don't hit great skill checks, in theory, I guess you could get, you know, 3, 6, you could get conceivably 9 tokens, and then you hit a great skill check at the end and you get just like a 9% bonus. It's interesting. It's like a weird autodidact for... Okay, all right. We have Smash Hit. When after stunning the killer with a pallet, break into a sprint at 150% of your normal running speed for 3 seconds, causing the exhausted status effect. A new exhausted status effect. A new sprint. Wow. You have to activate it with a pallet stun though. That's interesting. You hit someone with the pallet and you just... It's almost like 99ing. It's interesting. It seems unreliable because you do have to get a pallet stun. Now, if this was like a flashlight blind or something, it might be different. I don't know. Interesting. I don't hate this idea. It's a little too specific, but then we have self-preservation. Whenever another survivor within 12 meters of you gets hit by a basic attack or a special attack, self-preservation activates, and your scratch marks are hidden for 6 seconds. So this is interesting, right? So say the survivor or the killer rolls up on you and 3 homies, and one of them gets hit. You can sprint burst away, no scratch marks, right? In theory, you could use this with like poised and fixated and vigil or something like that, right? Or you could use this with like, you know, sprint burst and poised, or this and, you know, vigil. Like, you could do a lot of cool builds where you're, you know, you could even do like dance with me, self-preservation, poised. There's just no scratch mark build where you're just kind of like hard to find the entire time. Very interesting. I'm very interested. Her outfit's very cool. Very, very cool. And of course, excited about the neon sort of look to everything. Let's take a look real quick at the actual patch notes for the game, of course, because it is important to go over everything. Of course, today we have the Trickster Yun-Jin Lee. The chat filter feature is up, of course, and you can now change the privacy of the party you're in. Okay, so these are all positive changes. All right, so chat filter is now going to bleep out words that we shouldn't be having to see. Okay. The Blight's FOV has been raised up, so he is now as tall as he is supposed to be, basically, right? Because they had to redo all of the animations for the camera's position. The Wraith now has an increased cloak movement speed, so he now will move at 6 meters a second while cloaked, which means that he will be less reliant on Windstorm add-ons, and the Windstorm add-ons have been sort of toned down to compensate, of course. And they removed the uncloaking move speed penalties from the Windstorm add-ons as well. And they decreased his move speed while uncloaking, which is how they balance it. So he rolls up, he basically is kind of almost stuck in place while uncloaking. So a little bit of a balance. We'll see how that works out for Wraith. Colorblind modes have been added. If you are colorblind, please test those out and give feedback so they can be tweaked if they need to be. Decisive Strike now deactivates when performing certain actions that are not part of the evading the killer. Now, they talk about this a little bit in their developer update, and we'll kind of dive into why they made those changes. All right. The idea here for D-Strike is so that it is truly like an anti-tunneling perk, right? If you're getting, you know, unhooked and straight up being tunneled, and the killer just comes right for you, then right, that sucks, right? That's a bad situation. But if you get unhooked, get healed by your teammate, go sit on a gen for 45 seconds, right? Like then that's, you're not being tunneled, right? That perk should not necessarily exist, all right? So they say the intent behind this change is to remove instances where a survivor can make some sort of progress while being completely protected by the perk. While these changes, Decisive Strike remains active. With these changes, Decisive Strike remains active for 60 seconds, so long as you're only evading the killer, and the only person who can make it deactivate prematurely is you. All right, so another survivor healing you will not deactivate your D-Strike, but if you heal yourself, or if you heal someone else, so right, somebody unhooks you, they heal you, you heal them, it's done. It's been deactivated, right? So be very careful with how you use D-Strike now. So very interested and kind of seeing how that plays out, because I honestly, I mean, like the killer role, that is a huge barrier. I think D-Strike can be played around, but it still can be frustrating for a lot of people, so we'll see how it goes. The HUD has been changed. They increased the visibility and size of negative status effects, and they made the player status timer bar more accurate, because it would look like it's empty, but it wasn't empty, and it'd be a little weird. All right. They also changed the accept and cancel buttons on friend and group requests to have a greater visual difference. You know, I'm tired of accidentally joining groups that I didn't intend to join. There's a lot of bug fixes and things like that, so definitely take a look at those. And there are known issues. The nurse may become unable to do any actions after a blink grab, so don't play nurse, basically. Victor can get stuck in the basement. Survivors will clip inside the environment or float during interactions. That's weird. Survivors do not look back smoothly when crouching near a wall or asset. Ruin does not automatically regress gens. Projectiles go through pallets. Yay for Huntress? Ammo items and lockers do not spawn unless the Trickster is present in a match. So like Huntress's hatchets don't actually visually appear in lockers unless you're playing as Trickster, which is super weird. So that is it. That is the full scoop. 10 minutes of unfettered, lovely Dead by Daylight. As a little treat, if you guys are here at the end of the video, sound off in the comments below. I want to take a look and see if there are any customization items. Usually there's not, but I want to know there's not. All right, big sad. Well, thank you guys for sticking through to the end. We're going to be live over on Twitch taking a look at both the killer and the survivor, the new perks, and the new map, question mark? I hope to see you guys over there, and I'll be praying to the entity that you guys have a damn good time with the PTB, or we see you over on Twitch.